So the last time we got a lot of requests on how to make ghee. So today's New Year's Day, nothing else is happening, so I thought we would do a nice little video about how to make ghee. So here we have a nice block of unsalted New Zealand butter. We've been keeping it in our freezer, so it's frozen solid. I'm going to take this and put it in a pot. Nice big pot. And then turn on the flame just on simmer. See? Very low. Why? Because the butter will burn if it's on anything higher than that. So now I put the pot with the block of frozen butter on the simmer flame and just go away and leave it for about 2 hours. That's how long it's going to take this to melt. If you're going to make ghee, you might as well go down to the restaurant supply place and get yourself a big block of frozen butter, because the time that you spend to make a large quantity of ghee is not going to be much more than to make a small quantity, and so you might as well stock up. Okay, so now the butter is all melted, and you see we have the first little bit of solids coming to the top. So what we're going to do now is turn up the heat and gradually bring this liquid butter to a boil. It has to heat slowly or it'll burn on the bottom and ruin the taste of the whole batch of ghee. The idea is to bring all these solids up to the top so we can scoop them off. Okay, now it's brought to a boil, and you see all these solids are coming to the top, so we turn down the flame again to a simmer. Now what's happening is the liquid, the water, is being cooked out of the butter, and along with the water these solids are coming to the top. So what we do is take a nice scoop and scoop off the solids, put them in another bowl. Now these solids are really good for buttering toast, putting in soup, 1,000,001 uses. You can use it just like butter. But you can't do the things that you will do with ghee with butter, because to heat the ghee hot enough, for example, to extract flavor oil from spices, you couldn't have the solids in it or they will burn. So we're cooking out the solids and purifying the ghee. And you have to make really sure when the butter is boiling that nothing is sticking to the bottom. I always use a wooden spoon. Sometimes I'll even cut the tip off with a spoon with a saw so that it's flat, and I can scrape along the bottom and make sure nothing is sticking. If it sticks and burns, it'll ruin the flavor of the whole batch of ghee. So we have to be a little bit careful. Okay, so now we have a nice rolling boil, and as you can see, more solids have come up to the top. This is about 20 minutes later. So we very carefully scoop those off. Merge them in with the others. And then we want to keep this rolling boil because there's two kinds of solids. Some rise to the top like these, and others fall to the bottom. The reason is that almost all the water is cooked out of them, and so they're denser and heavier than the others. And that's the trickiest part. is taking care of those solids that fall to the bottom and making sure that they don't burn. But for now, in this phase, we just keep this at a rolling boil until the ghee becomes clear. As you can see now, it's not clear, it's got a lot of bubbles in it. So just keep cooking it slowly like this. Now after 20 minutes, I'm scooping off the solids from the top again. And as long as they keep rising to the top, keep scooping them off and saving them in another container. Like I said, these ghee solids are very useful for all different kinds of cooking. Anywhere you use butter, you can use ghee solids instead. They're nice and fluffy because they're aerated. They contain the steam from the cooking process. But as you can see, the ghee is still not clear. It's got a lot of bubbles in it and solids. So we're going to keep cooking it and keep scooping out the solids until it gets clear. Okay, now as you can see, all of the solids have risen to the top and been scooped off, and the remaining ghee is more or less clear. Now this is the time when you have to be very careful not to let it stick to the bottom. If you scrape it and you feel that something is sticking, then immediately scrape it with the wooden spoon so it doesn't stick and burn. The idea here is to boil off as much as possible of the water, the remaining water in the ghee. But when the solids that you scoop off of the top start to get brown like this, that means you can't cook it anymore, or they'll start to burn and ruin the flavor. So you turn it off, and we're going to let it cool and then pour off the clear ghee, leaving the solids that have sunk to the bottom in the pan. Okay, now I've let the ghee cool down for a few minutes, and as you can see, if I scoop just the last little bit of impurities from the top, what's left is a clear liquid. Let's zoom in on that. A clear liquid, and you can see on the bottom, here are the other impurities on the bottom. So what we're going to do now is pour off the clear liquid from the top. So now I'm pouring off the clear ghee into another pan. Hopefully the pan will be big enough. And as you can see, what's left on the bottom is the solids that sank to the bottom. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to pour the rest of this out into another pan, which hopefully is nearby. Oh, here we go. Here. Stop short of pouring out these heavy solids. Now we're going to clean out this pan and use it for the final stage of preparing the ghee. So these heavy solids that stick to the bottom of the pan are actually nice and flavorful because they're not burnt. So they can go in with the rest of your ghee solids that you scoop off the top. Some people don't like them, but I do. I think they're nice and flavorful. And everything from milk and butter is useful in cooking, so we shouldn't waste anything.
Okay, now the pan is cleaned, and also I put it on the flame to dry it thoroughly because we don't want there to be any moisture in the ghee. It'll boil and bubble up really bad. So now I'm going to pour the ghee that we took out back into the ghee pan. And you see there's more ghee solids on the bottom of the pan here. So we're going to be careful not to pour those back into the big pan.